Okay, good afternoon. This is Andy Petraza with Special Effects Academy on May 4th of 2018 for our end of the week wrap up for the week that is ending today. Market is still open. We have closed out all the open trades that we were carrying in the account. So right now the trading account is completely flat, and we'll go through the deck and see exactly what the results were for the week. So that being said, I will kick the show on the road. As usual, we're going to be looking at the trades that were opened and closed for the week, the balance on the account, any opportunities for improvement that we have detected across the week, and any open trades that are being kept through the weekend, which again, as I said, this week we have none. As always, feel free to interrupt at any time if you had any questions or comments. Those are always welcome. So I'm showing the ledger now, waiting for the screen to update on the presentation. There we go. So these were the trades open and closed for the week. We see some at the very top that were remnants from the prior week. So these 4 trades at the top had been opened prior and had been kept open, some for quite a while. We did have 2 heavy losers in that column. The first 2 trades, the oldest ones, both finally hit their stop for a 200 pip loss. One of the other older trades somewhat made up for that with 74.8 pips of positive, and the final one gave us another 50 pips of negative. So all in all, those had a negative outcome. The trades that were open this week, starting with the 5th one, were in general very positive. Most of them were 50, a little bit less than 50 pips. Our targets were in general 50 pips for all the trades. We had only one loser among them, the pound JPY, and it did actually move in our favor eventually, but the stop was a little bit too tight. It took us out at the 50 pip stop that we had placed and then went on to fulfill. So that was a little bit unfortunate, but that is what happens sometimes. So all in all, we had 11 wins and 4 losses, for a profit in pips of 111.2, a net profit of $140. This is after taking out all the expenses, the commissions, swaps, and whatnot of trading. So not the best week, but certainly a very positive one with 111 pips net, and the win ratio was pretty good. The growth on the account was 2.82%, so no complaints there. You can see the rest of the trades. I'm not going to go through every one of them. If you've been following us throughout the week, you were probably in most, if not all, of these trades. And we did have some trades that I closed out today simply because I didn't feel like leaving them open through the weekend. Specifically, those would have been the USD and USD Swiss and Euro Swiss trades were closed out right around the noon session. A very small profit on each one of them, 12 pips on one, 5 pips on the other one, but it just wasn't worth the risk to keep them open over the weekend. Most of the other trades that we entered did hit their limit or their adjusted stop if I had decided to protect profit along the way. Most of them, though, did end up hitting their limit. So if you did not adjust your stop, you probably had possibly a better result than I did for the week. That being said, it is, we also closed out the month. Well, first I'm going to go through the balance of the account. So the visual performance on the account, we always start with $5,000. We reset the account every start of the week just to give it a baseline. So we see that in general, the account was trending up. Then we had the old trades were unfortunately taken out that made the account dive below the 5,000 mark significantly. It went down almost $400. That was the deepest retracement. And then the remaining trades of the week simply carried it up. And this final day of trading had 5 or 6 trades that closed at profit and bounced it back up to above the initial balance. As I was saying before, we did close out April last week. I didn't have the time to present the results in last week's end of week, so I'm doing that today. Ignore this final row, the one starting with 29 April. That is this week and is considered a part of May, since most of the week was, in fact, part of the calendar month of May. So the only thing that we're taking into account is the 4 weeks of April proper. We had one spectacularly fine week. The second week gave us 268 pips of profit, and they were very well managed. So that brought us almost $2 per pip based on our trading size. The deepest negative was 192 pips, but this one had some fundamentals, and we did trade out of the loss. So even though we had a high pip loss, the dollar loss was very slight because we recovered quite a lot based on trading the Canadian fundamental that came out that week. And we won less trades than we ended up losing. So it was 5-8 against us, and still the loss wasn't that deep. That's a prime example of how trade management and account management can sometimes correct or even, I guess, transcend the being right or being wrong when we enter the trade. So trade management is far more important than simply being right. I don't care if I'm right or if I'm wrong. I only care that the account is going up. So for the 4 weeks of April, we did end up with an account growth combined of 8.07% and a net profit based on the trading size, which was 2 mini lots of $403 and a net profit in pips of 61, which again is a low number in pips, but some of those pips are worth more than others based on how we traded that fundamental in the third week and dug ourselves out of the hole that some of the regular trades caused. The other trades were basically flat. We had negative 23 pips in the first week and positive 9.1 pips last week. So nothing major there. In retrospect, if we can get a 10% week, which was what the second week ended up being, that pretty much carried the entire month. The rest of it was just, we're here, we're trading. But 1 week alone can certainly make the difference and carry a month. Had we traded this 1 week, we would have been higher than we ended up. But there's no way to predict that. There's no way to know ahead of time which week is going to be the week. So I'll leave you with that. Again, ignore the final row here. It will be part of May, but May has already started out very nicely with a net profit of 111 pips. So moving on with that, opportunities for improvement. The only thing I can say is that those open trades that we were carrying from the prior weeks probably should have been closed earlier and at a point where we were either very close to flat or even at a slight profit. They were probably held too long. However, if we don't risk, there is no profit. You have to take risk in order to make profit. So they could have just as easily ended up working out in our favor. So this is a little bit of Monday night quarterbacking, as those of us following football would say. It's always very easy to critique after the fact, but when you're in the middle of the game, you have to react based on what the game is doing. And in this case, while I do think that in the future I'll probably take a closer look at closing out some of these trades earlier and just not take the risk, I don't feel that that we did anything too out of the ordinary here. So all in all, a great April and a great first week starting out May. As I said before, we're not leaving any trades open for this week. The trading account is flat right now. We're out of every single trade. Everything is cash, and we will be reconvening on Sunday evening to take a look at the pre-open of the market. I'm going to go back to the ledger. That is the end of the presentation. Just going to go back quickly to the ledger and see if anybody has any questions based on this week's performance. So that should update momentarily and bring us back to the ledger. So that's it for me. That's my end of the week wrap up. I do see for next week probably a continuation of the dollar strength that we have seen play out in the last couple of weeks. Everything seems to be shining on the dollar. Don't ask me why. I've been waiting for a dollar crash for quite some time, as has the rest of the market. But fortunately, I tend to trade what's in the charts and not what my emotions or my, I guess, my opinions are telling me. So while I have an opinion, and that is that the the dollar should be, that's nice. Somebody's drawing on the screen. My opinion is that the dollar should at some point crash. That obviously has not happened yet. And until it does, I will continue trading it in whatever direction the charts are telling me to. And that's it for me today, guys. So anybody have any comments or questions, feel free to chime in right now.
I'd like to apologize for drawing on your screen, Andres.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay, John. You put a check mark, so it actually looks very good. So not a problem.
Anyway, just an outstanding performance this week, it would appear. I was watching the charts very carefully. And yeah, it's been very, very impressive. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you very much. Did you take any of the trades, or did you sit this week out?
No, I took them all. I'm in the habit of making sure that all of your trades go on, because I presume that the trades you recommend should be treated en masse. I mean, you hedged also one of the euro trades, so.
Yes, I did, and I think I won on that one as well. That was a very curious one. Yeah, there was one loser in the long-term account. That was the Euro JPY, and that's the only loser so far. All the other ones are really outperforming. They move much quicker than I expected. But yeah, that one was definitely a hedge, and I guess it played out as a hedge. In this account, however, I traded the Euro JPY in the opposite direction. Again, trade what the charts are saying, and I snatched a small profit out of it. But yeah, absolutely right.
So when I came in late, have you closed all of the trades for the week to reanalyze it at the commencement of next week's trading? Is that what you've done?
Yes, at the noon session, I only had 2 trades open, and they were the USD Swiss and Euro Swiss. And they were simply at a very small profit level, and I decided I just didn't want to keep those open. They didn't have enough profit to make it worth my while. So I took the 12 and 5 pips, and I will reassess those on the weekend open. I may just jump back in. But this is the short-term account. In the long-term account, and actually, let me flip to that one. Let me flip to that one momentarily here. Bear with me. So on the short-term account, everything is closed out. On the long-term account, however, and that should be showing up on your screen momentarily. And I'll explain why some of these look a little bit funky. So on the long-term account, we did get stopped out of the Euro JPY. So there were 5 trades that were opened. Euro JPY was stopped out when it hit its stop loss. These are the other 4 trades. And one of them, actually all of them were carrying heavy profit. With the fundamental this morning, I tightened the stop and I got taken out of 3 of them: USD JPY, Euro dollar, and pound dollar. At high profit, and after the fundamental, I jumped right back in. So if we look at the history, this was the loser, the Euro JPY. So that was a however many pips that was, and these were the ones closed at profit when they retraced after the fundamental. So combined about 200 pips between the 3 winners there. So I took that profit off the table, and then after the fundamental, I reopened those same 3 trades.
Got you. Okay.
And already the USD JPY has moved significantly since then.
Wonderful.
So that is basically that. So I'm not reporting this account in the Forex trading room. It's a completely separate service or product for
Right.
the long-term ones. You're getting both of them in the signals. You're getting the long-term and the short-term. So,
I see.
yeah,
I
they're
see. So
different
when you say
approaches.
long term, you're indicating which of the accounts you're trading rather than an indication of expectation.
Well,
Yeah,
both.
yeah, okay,
Both.
cool.
I keep them segregated, so they're in separate accounts. But it's
Mhm.
also the expectation. These long-term trades are the ones I will really not care if they remain open for months at a time. So long as they're
Right.
moving in the right direction and they don't hit
Mhm.
my stop or any of my exit criteria, I will keep them open. The one exception is if I get nervous on a fundamental like this morning, I will tighten the
Mhm.
stops and take some of the profit off the table. The USD Swiss was the only one that didn't retrace, so it never took me out. So you see that that one is still open from the 26 when I originally alerted it.
Yeah, I don't quite know why. I think this was stopped out for me. I must have moved my stop loss up at some point. I don't quite know why I did that. Strange.
Yeah.
I'll take a
Well,
look
my
at it.
stops are really wide on these. My stops are calculated to be twice the ATR. So, for
Okay.
example, on the Euro JPY, right now it would be about 160 pips if I were to open a long-term trade.
Thank
So,
you.
for
Thank
one
you
of
very much.
those to be hit, it has to be a really sharp correction. And all the others are whatever the ATR is on that chart, I go for twice that that value. That's basically the difference. And the long-term account is also trading with significantly more equity. It's a $20,000 account as opposed to a $5,000 one. So you cannot trade long-term unless you have a larger account. It's just not going to work in your favor.
Yeah, you need. Yeah, of course. What? Okay. So, could you give me a few guidelines for pips? I'm sorry, for lots. I mean, if it's the case that I was trading, say, for example, $500 or $1,000 or $3,000, what should I be looking at to trade your trades? Because you're sometimes 2 to 1, you're sometimes 1 to 1.
Yeah, that's depending on what the chart is telling me, those indicators. And really on the long-term account, you can see that I don't have a take profit. But I do alert a take profit because people like to see what their target is. My target is either 1 to 1 or 2 to 1. But
Yeah.
if it starts moving that quickly in my favor, I will also alert and tell people to remove the limit or to move it further away. But
Okay.
personally, I don't trade with a limit. I will always trade with a stop, but not necessarily with a limit on these long terms. These can move 500 pips, and if they do, well, yay. I'm not going to stop it. My
Great.
criteria to get out of a trade is it's either going to hit the stop or it's going to retrace for at least 10 days. If I see it going against me for 10 straight days, I'll get out.
Interesting. Very.
Regardless of whether profit loss, I don't care. Simply, I get out.
So why is 10 days your guideline? Is it just something picked arbitrarily, or do you feel that this?
It is a system I devised to trade the long terms, and it was based on my gut feeling at the time, but I've tested it out, and it works more often than not. That's the real answer.
Yeah, of course.
As to the trade lot size, if I never risk more than 4% on any one trade, and that dictates the maximum lot size I can get into with the wide stops I'm using. And in this case, that comes to half a lot. So as long as I remain in the general area of 20,000, I'm not going to trade more than half a lot at a time.
Okay, great. Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
And the other thing I should point out is that April for me is the start of the fiscal year. I keep what's normal U.S. Business fiscal calendar. So April is the start of the new year. So that's why all the accounts, the long-term account was reset to the 20,000 at the beginning of April.
Got you. Okay, fine. Interesting.
So that's the April fiscal, and all our reporting is based on April. That our taxes are paid based on a year beginning in April, ending in March, yada, yada, yada.
Got you. So I think Valerie left a second ago. If it's just
she may have, yes, she did leave. Yeah, some people either join for a bit and leave, others don't join at all. I will repost these sessions on YouTube, so
Okay,
anybody
great.
that misses the actual session can catch the replay later.
So they see my nice tick. Wonderful.
Yes, your tick will show up for everybody to admire.
Okay, look, I'm going to drop out of this, and I'll send you a note via WhatsApp in a second.
Excellent. Well, thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
very much.
joining, and I will talk to you soon, my friend.
Thank you for the invitation, and I'll see you
No
soon.
worries. Take care. Bye-bye.